highest mountain. Looked all around, couldn't find nobody. Went down into the deepest valley. Looked all around, couldn't find nobody. I went across the deep blue sea. Couldn't find one to compare to your grace, your love, your mercy. Nobody greater than you. I searched all over, I couldn't find nobody. I looked high and low, still couldn't find nobody. Nobody greater, Jesus, nobody greater than you. I searched all over, couldn't find nobody. I looked high and low, still couldn't find nobody. Nobody greater, Jesus, nobody greater than you. Nobody can heal like you can. Oh, most gracious one, you are the great I am. Awesome in all your ways, and mighty is your hand. You are he who carries out redemption's plan. You are he who carries out redemption's plan. Looked all over, couldn't find nobody. I looked high and low, still couldn't find nobody. Nobody greater, Jesus, nobody greater than you. I searched all over, I couldn't find nobody. I looked high and low, still couldn't find nobody. Nobody greater, Jesus, nobody greater than you. Nobody greater than you. Come on, sing that with me. Nobody greater than you. Nobody greater than you. Come on, repeat this after me. Your name is above all names. You're worthy of all our praise. Mighty are the works of your hand. nobody greater, Jesus, nobody greater than you.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you once again for joining us, being a part of this morning's service broadcast on behalf of my wife, Chantel, and I. We'd like to welcome you this Sunday morning to today's presentation of the gospel. And so to all of those of you who are joining us for the very first time, we want to thank you for your participation today, and to whomever or however you heard about us, want to thank them as well for pointing you in our direction, and pray that your time with us is a fruitful one, and that you walk away blessed, encouraged, inspired, educated, felt like you were part of the experience, and really empowered to go out and live the life that God always intended you to live. So God bless you. Thank you for being there with us today. And to all of our GTAM faithful, God bless you. Love you. Glad to have you with us here today as well. And looking forward to the story that we're going to hear today. For the last several weeks, we have been on this theme of everyone has a story to tell. And we started this off by sharing a little bit about our stories and background, and we've heard from a few others, and we have a couple that's going to share a portion of their story with you all today, Chris and Patrice Stanley, and are really looking forward to hearing what they're going to share with us. A relatively young couple. I believe they're still in their 20s. Maybe late 20s, early 30s. But we've known them since they were in high school, and have had the opportunity to see them grow up and mature and develop into a beautiful Christian family. And there's a particular portion of their story that I believe that they're going to share with us today that I believe will resonate with a lot of those of you all that are watching today in confronting the realities of life.
Yes.
Right? Growing up in the church and, baptized, filled with the Holy Ghost, and living, a solid, morally sound life doesn't inoculate us from dealing with life.
Right.
It doesn't insulate us from dealing with the uncertainties, the tragedies, the disappointments, the hurts of life. And that's real,
yes.
For us in our Christian experience, in that as much as we are, trying to live right, live holy, be in the will of God, it isn't going to safeguard us from having to deal with the cares of life.
Right.
The cares of life are going to find us nonetheless. And so that's where our faith becomes so paramount. Not in what it does to just sometimes prevent things, right? Because if you live a certain way, right, if you live God's way, it does have an impact on the quality of life that you live,
yes.
right? It certainly will influence in some instances the things that you have to deal with or don't have to deal with, right, as a result of how you're living your life. But having said that, it doesn't necessarily, again, it doesn't inoculate you or shield you totally from all of the cares of life, right? The scripture says that, the rain falls on the just and the unjust, right? The sun shines on the just and the unjust. Time and chance happens to us all, right? So, good things are going to sometimes come to the benefit of bad people, right? And then sometimes the converse of that is true as well. Sometimes bad things are going to happen to good people. So the power of our faith comes in not just in our ability to, step clear of or avoid certain things, but really in influencing how we respond to them, right? And I've often said this in ministry: we cannot always control the things that happen to us, but we are 100% in control of how we respond to those things that happen to us, right? And so our faith influences our responses, right? And that's what I find so encouraging about the story of Chris and Patrice, and how they responded to, life's circumstances, that they found themselves confronting. And it's interesting because it's, again, it's not like you're prepared for these things, right? It's not like, you knew it was coming. And so you had all this time to prepare and equip yourself and things of this nature, right? And sometimes when life happens, it happens in inconvenient times and in predicting ways. And so it really, and in those moments, you really tap into the essence of who you are.
Yes.
Right? There's no time to really, okay, I've got to, how much, you know what I mean? Right. What is in you is what comes out of you, in those moments. Those seeds that have been planted are the fruit that those circumstances produce, right? I've always rejected the notion that pressure builds character. You hear that, right? Pressure builds character. I think that is one of the greatest misnomers and false analogies out there. I don't believe that pressure builds character. I believe pressure reveals the character that's there. Right, pressure reveals what's in you.
Yes,
right.
That's good.
And so Chris and Patrice, under these circumstances, it really revealed the foundation of faith that was in them. Amen. And again, if you know anything about them, these are some of the most unassuming, quiet, reserved, keep to ourselves. Hey, kind of people. Right? They're not on the stage, on the spotlight kind of people, and to see just how fantastically they responded to these circumstances and how it helped to galvanize them as a couple. I'm sure it had its strains on them as well, but how it galvanized them. And how, again, seeing them, Patrice was in high school. When we first were exposed to her and her family and started ministering to them, they became a part of the ministry. And Chris, I think, had just graduated high school or was a senior or something like that, right? They were both very young when we met them. And to see them now, as these unassuming leaders, and again, not necessarily from the pulpit, not from any formal role or position, although they lead us one of the small groups in our ministry, but that's not how they lead, right? Exactly. They lead through their story, they lead through their example, they share their influence, right? They're those quiet but very powerful types of people that you need to have in your life and in your ministry, and I'm just so, again, inspired, by them,
right?
And how they've been able to endure what they've gone through, and to see them now, right? At the time, again, ministering to them, the future was uncertain. Right?
Exactly.
We didn't know that we'd be here today, celebrating with them the way everyone has been celebrating with them, right? But to be able to be here now, knowing what it took for them to get there, it's just really endearing and encouraging. So
I agree. Just very proud of them, and really excited and appreciate both of your yeses to share your story. I'm really what I do know about the two of them is they are slow to speak, but when they speak, there's something to be said. The depth and the amount of wisdom that comes forth when they do speak is truly impactful. So I know that when they speak today, it's going to be effective. It's going to be a blessing to all the viewers, and we pray that that everyone continues to share these stories on your social media platforms, as we are broadcasting, because it's beyond GTAM. You know, we want these stories to reach people where they are. You know, wherever these stories are meant to hit, you know, we want them to reach it, and we need the help of all the viewers, you know, to make sure that you're sharing the stories, and keep in mind that this is beyond GTAM. What we're doing is beyond GTAM.
Yeah, and I think we've been fairly intentional even in speaking, you know, with the individuals that we've asked to share their stories, right? This isn't a story about how GTAM impacted your life, right? This is a story about how God impacted your life, right? Or how, you know, you leaned on God, or how you needed God. And in some instances, sure, that, you know, the vehicle for that may have been the ministry, but you're absolutely right. This is far beyond, you know, just GTAM. So we want the reach to be far beyond GTAM as well, which I believe it is.
Yes.
You know, I believe it is. So, you know, one of the other things, as you were talking about them, you know, they're very slow to speak and things of that nature. You know, this young couple, they are very, very practical, and you know, they share with you the reality of things, right? They're not very theoretical or, you know, conceptual or ideologues or anything of that nature. I mean, they both, in the wisdom that they have, make it very applicable, you know, very, very real. And, you know, they both have a wonderful sense of humor too.
Oh, yes.
They're both funny as all get out.
They are.
But they also are both very honest, right? Yes. About their feelings, about their questions, about what they're going through, how they've gone through that.
Yes.
I know that having some conversations with Chris and Patrice, because sometimes people try to sugarcoat things and give you the, you know, the watered down, sanitized version of the story.
Yes.
And Chris and Patrice have always been, even with, you know, what they've experienced, they've always been respectful and tactful, but honest.
Exactly.
Right? They'll, if you ask them a question, they'll be like, well, you know, honestly, and they'll give you an honest answer, right?
Yes.
And so I appreciate that about them too, right? And I think, again, that honesty, right, is something that I think many of us can glean from with God and with others. Right, is honestly, this is rough. Honestly, this is what I'm feeling. You know, honestly, I'm scared. Right, honestly, you know, I'm not going to just put on, you know, the face and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I'm scared. Honestly, I don't know what to do. Honestly, I don't know how to react. You know, you know, and again, I'm not sure exactly what they're going to share, how much, so I don't want to steal any thunder, but it's honest, right? And I think, you know, sometimes if we're just honest. You know, God can really help us, right? If we're just honest, and you know, and again, we speak the truth in love, right? So it doesn't mean being crass or anything of that nature, but be honest about your feelings. Be honest about your concerns, right? Be honest about your uncertainty. You know, don't feel this artificial pressure to have to put forth a fake faith.
That you have it all together, or that you have all the answers.
Or really, it's that fake faith. In my mind, at least, I consider, you know, it's and maybe I shouldn't say fake faith, but it's okay. Maybe
for some it may be.
I'm being too honest. But you know, there's sometimes this pressure to pretend as if there's no uncertainty, that there's no doubt, that there's no question, right? And that's not, you know, faith, right? Faith often is, action in the face of uncertainty, in the face of question, in the face of, the unknown, but I'm still taking action.
Yes.
Right? That's really the true essence of faith, right? Because faith without works is dead, being alone, right? So, it's show me your faith without your works, and I'll show you my faith by my works, right? So faith isn't always putting on the face of, hey, I'm completely and utterly without question trusting, that God is in this and God is going to work it all out. There's sometimes like, I don't really know.
Like, Lord, I
don't understand.
Exactly.
I'm confused, right? I'm hurt. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm disappointed. I'm disillusioned.
the human side,
right? I'm a bit jaded.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I've done everything I was supposed to do. Why am I in this situation? But I'm still going to do these things that are right. I'm still going to take these steps, that are rooted in me.
Right.
Because in the end, I believe that that's the right thing to do. And that, even though I don't understand, I still think that this is what God will want. Just be honest.
Yes, exactly.
Just be honest. And I think God honors that.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He does. And I mean, we're living in a time where, and I shouldn't even say that, because this just should be, it just should be how we are, honest. I remember the the mother that looked at you and she said, Pastor Miller, you are just so honest to God. But that just came. That was sidebar. Yeah, Mother Banks shared that with you. But that's just how we should be. And I think a lot of times, for whatever reason, we felt like we have to put on this persona, of I got it together. I can't let you see my weak side. We look at it as weakness.
I can't let you see my
the
vulnerability.
Humanist, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know where that comes from. What's the root of that? But it is so refreshing and liberating when you can just be, be honest. And I have faith in God, but I don't know how He's gonna do it. But I my uncertainties are such that's causing me a little, concern.
I'm making my uncertainty be subject.
That's good. Yes.
To my faith.
Right.
I have uncertainty, but that uncertainty is not going to be what governs.
Yes, that's it.
Or dictates. My uncertainty is not going to be what governs or dictates my actions. Right. It's going to be subject.
Yes.
I'm going to make it take a back seat,
right?
To my faith, right? And I'm going to let my faith drive my actions. My faith is going to be what determines my choices, right?
Yes.
And so it's like, well, did you have any questions? Oh yeah, I had a lot of questions.
Right. Exactly.
I had a lot of doubt. I had a lot of uncertainty, right? I had a lot of trepidation. I had a lot of, fear, concern, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I just didn't let those things drive me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I made them come along, but they came along in the backseat.
Right.
And we wasn't allowing no backseat drivers on this trip, right?
Yes.
So yeah. No, I hear you.
That's it. Thank you for interpreting those.
I got you. So
So we're excited. We are very, very excited to hear Chris and Patrice. They're very authentic too, and refreshing when they speak and share their heart. Again, they prefer to be behind the scenes. But a lot of those individuals that are behind the scenes, it's like they have such a wealth of,
they're unassuming.
Right.
But they still have a lot of influence and impact.
That people need. So.
And that's okay. Not everybody's supposed to be,
right.
Front and center.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean that you are any less influential.
Right.
So yeah.
Amen.
Well, let's have a word of prayer, and then we're going to hear a little bit of Chris and Patrice's story, which I'm sure is going to bless you. Amen. So we pray with us. Lord, we love you. We appreciate you and are so grateful to you and the patience that you display toward your people and how you love us and nurture us and help to usher us on this journey and path of life that we are all upon. We thank you so much for Chris and Patrice,
Yes.
for them being willing to share this portion of their story and how influential you were to them in this process and how present you were. And Lord, I just pray that it would really not only educate, but that it would also inspire and encourage your people when we face our own circumstances of uncertainty, our own circumstances of hurt and dismay and trouble. So we love you.
Yes.
We bless you. We look forward to how you are going to minister to others as the gospel is presented in this format. God bless you.
Yes.
We love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Jesus' name, amen. God
All
bless
right. God bless you. We love you. Wow.
It's okay.
Bless
You
you.
tell the
We
Lord to
love
bless.
you. Yeah. Lord, God bless you. Okay.
It's all good.
But yeah, God bless you all.
Yes.
We love you. And I
Yes.
pray that you're blessed by this story. And friendly reminder, Kingdom Kids at 12 noon Pacific today. All right. All right. Take care. Enjoy the story.
Yes.
Good morning, GTAM fam, and everyone in the virtual congregation today. We just want to say, first of all, we miss everyone, and can't wait to see everyone in person again. And also, we're just very honored to be invited to share our testimony today, and to be able to just share our story and what God's done in our lives, and and so. If you know us, you know you don't usually probably see us in front speaking,
Right.
but very often. But we just couldn't pass this opportunity to share our story and hopefully encourage someone or just even relate to someone about the journey that God has you on. So we just. I also want to say, if you hear any little music or voices in the background, Chazzy is back there. Chazai is back there. So hopefully it's not too loud. But I just want to give that warning. So let's start with our story and where our journey to parenthood began was when we got married. And if you see me looking down, I have notes here on my phone. I'm not checking my phone. But anyways, so let's start with our story where with our marriage. That began in 2013. We got married. We were both 23, and we'd been dating for 5 years since we were 18, and we're ready to get married. And I mention our age because some may view that as young to get married, and so we were kind of young, and so we weren't really planning on starting our family right away, or our plans. But we did always know we wanted a family. We knew we wanted kids and multiple kids, and however much God would give us.
Yeah. So even going into that, like, we both came from larger families. Myself, I had 4 brothers, and then including me would be 5 boys. Raised by my mom.
So we know big families, and we know that's something we wanted.
Yeah.
And so we knew we wanted that, but we didn't really have much interest in starting right away, So fast forward to almost 2 years into our marriage, 2015, and we had we've been surprised with the fact that I was pregnant. And we weren't expecting it, we weren't trying or anything like that, but when we found out, I shared it with Chris, and we immediately got excited.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, wait, is this gonna happen? We hadn't thought about this year, but
Right.
Okay, let's get ready for it.
Let's give this a try.
Yeah, let's jump into it, And so we're immediately excited, and I didn't know much about what to do next, but I knew we should go to the doctor and just see how everything is or how far along all that jazz. And so we found a doctor, and you know, before that time, I'd never really considered, you know, losing a pregnancy or anything like that. I mean, something I maybe heard of, but it wasn't in the forefront of my mind. So I went and found the doctor, went to our appointment, and we did our ultrasound. And so we had estimated that we're about 8 weeks along, and when we get to the ultrasound, the doctor says it looks like I'm about 6 weeks along, so like 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah. And at that point, I don't think, from what the doctor explained, he said it looks about 6 weeks, because at that point, I guess you really can't see a heartbeat or anything like that. You just are able to see the embryo, that it's there.
Yeah, you may see a heartbeat, but he said it's not always.
It's not always going to be, it's not going to be noticeable or anything like that.
And so basically the fact was we didn't see a heartbeat when we went in to check it out. And we could see the space. He was like pointing out the parts where, like the sac or the, I don't know, I can't remember the parts, but he showed us where the baby was, but
Right.
there was no heartbeat at that time. And so, so no heartbeat. And at that time, he kind of hints at the fact that, this baby might not be viable, or, we might not be able to finish this pregnancy,
Right.
and, miscarry. And so, he says there's a small chance that it was still going to gain a heartbeat, within the next couple weeks or so. And so, and even that first appointment, didn't he start to offer?
Yeah, at the first appointment, he even offered, it's like he was kind of more sure that it was going to be a miscarry. And so he more hinted at like medications, and like there was a medication that could help push the miscarry along. Mm-hmm. And then he also hinted at maybe even trying to schedule a D&C if it goes too far into it without really growing. So at that point, it's like,
So he started telling us our options.
Right. He told us our options. We understood the options. And then for us being who we are, we tried more leaving it into God's hands, and just kind of, after that, we're praying, God's will over the whole thing, just because we wanted to make sure that, we're consulting with God also, not just leaving it up to a doctor to try to persuade us a certain way.
Right. Yeah, so, exactly. So the main thing we heard was that there was a chance.
Yeah.
There was a chance that, some growth would happen. And
Right.
so,
Yeah.
so we made an appointment for the next week, actually, with all that in mind. And, we knew this would be enough time for, the baby to
Right.
show their heartbeat and, get things
Right.
back on track.
Yeah. And it just thinking back to that point, so like we did, we rescheduled a week out. So a week is about 7 days. Or actually a week is 7 days, sorry. And 7 days, I believe, in the Bible it talks about 7 days. 7 days is like the number of completion, like it's the number of completion at that point. So, God created the earth and all the living beings in 6 days, and then decided to rest on the seventh. So at that point, just try to, on the seventh day for us would be going back to the doctor and, finding out if it's viable or not. Mm-hmm. So like living with what the doctor, tells us at that point, that's what we do. To be able to move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, yeah. So we go to that appointment. We, we're in anticipation and a little bit nervous, but, really hopeful that we're going to find out, good information.
Right.
And so we get to that appointment, get our ultrasound, and we find out that the baby has not grown, that there's no heartbeat, and it looks as if it's the exact same size and
Right.
same point of progress that it was when we left the last time.
Right.
And so at this point, the doctor pretty much confirms that this is going to be a miscarriage, and goes back over the options he was giving us the first time. And
Right.
it was kind of, he was giving all the options kind of a haze though for I feel like for us, because of just like trying to process all the information. Like, wow, we hadn't even thought that this was going to really be an option. It wasn't something that we were really it wasn't too close to home. That's something that we were thinking about.
Right.
And so the doctor was pretty like matter of fact and like kind of cold.
Yeah.
And like he's been through this maybe a few
Right.
dozens of times, but for us it's like brand new, so we're like in a state of processing.
Even now, like I think about it, and like that doctor, he rubbed me the wrong way. And just because he was so cold and matter of fact, I understand, science is science, but science also has been proven wrong by God. So I'm like, you know what, just leave us alone. But we walked away from that appointment, knowing that the pregnancy wasn't viable. Like, I was like, okay, the doctor, just stop being so cold about it. That's like my whole thought process. And
Yeah.
so we just kind of, like, all right, well, got out of the appointment. And he was really still trying to push the medication to really push it along, and even hinted at the DNC again. So the DNC
It's
is a procedure that you have to, it's maybe, from what he said, about a 30-minute procedure. But, we didn't want to do all that, because then risks take place going forward into, if you're trying to have, babies in the future. So we didn't do the DNC.
So basically he said our choices were to have the medication to do the procedure, or just go home and wait for it to happen naturally. And so we, the other things were kind of foreign to us, so we just said, all right, we'll go home and we'll wait. And at that time, our whole perspective of what it was going to be parents had shifted in that moment, really, because now we see that it's not just like a straight line to to becoming a parent. And so we hadn't really thought of this. It's like a whole perspective change. And so so we go home and we wait. And so here's where it gets kind of complicated for me. At this time, I'm thinking, okay, I have this time to wait and see. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? I have hope that there could be a miracle.
Right.
I'm thinking, we kind of talk about it, and I'm like, there's a chance that within this time, I think he said we have up to like a month to wait before we need to intervene. And I was like, you know what? Something could happen here. Maybe God can revive this baby, and just just make something happen unexpected. And so that adds another dynamic to this, because now instead of just taking the information and going with that, I decide, okay, I'm gonna put my hope in God here, that he's going to come and just change the situation. I'm like, if we're praying for it hard enough, it'll happen.
Right.
And so and then if there's a miracle, then that would make sense why we had to go through this like hard change, a hard situation. But anyways, so we go through the month, and they were going, I feel the days and the weeks were going excruciatingly slow. And like I feel like every day was like, oh, really wondering what's going to happen.
Right.
And I remember being even really careful, thinking I don't want to do anything to jeopardize the chance.
Right.
But we just waited during that time. And I know even during that time there was a women's conference, and at the pajama party I shared it with the group of ladies there, and which was hard or unusual for me to share things while I'm going through the problem, but I just felt the need to share. And it was actually I found a lot of comfort in that time sharing with the women, and even though it's still a really hard thing, there was comfort in that. And so, through that time, after that, we just prayed that, whatever God's will is, we are just going to be, ready for that.
Right.
And of course, whatever God's will is, but also hoping that our prayer is
Answered. Yeah.
And so the time passed over the next month, and there's one night where I started feeling some cramping, and that was where the process started.
Right.
And and that was it. It happened where
it was in the afternoon because I was at work.
Mm-hmm. I was at home, so. But it was long. It was painful, and it was a very hard transition to have that happen. But we made it through that, and it was hard. And things shifted in how we were seeing things, and kind of like whoa, put a little shadow in there, I guess.
Right.
And so we went through maybe the next year without really thinking about trying again. I think the doctor told us we could try it after a certain time, but we didn't really think about jumping back into it. We just went about our lives. And it was maybe almost a year before I found out that I was unexpectedly pregnant again. And this time we were full of excitement.
Yeah.
But there was this undoubtable amount of uncertainty and kind of fear going into it.
Yeah.
Did you?
So. I'll just.
Well, yeah. So there was a fear going into it. We're like, okay, well, that was really awful last time, and I can't imagine going through it again. But here we are, pregnant again. So this is our chance, to recover from that with something wonderful,
Yeah.
And so we're excited, but there's this looming cloud of doubt.
Yeah, doubt. Definitely doubt.
Fear.
Fear. Anything that can be negative was there.
Right.
Just because of the situation prior. But with that, we tried more, try to stay more on the positive side because we knew, God was with us. And just trying to keep that faith there.
Yeah.
So that, also, we've also prayed about it a lot, especially since then, is just to be able to trust God with any situation that we have.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. So, yeah. So basically we're just trying to trust God in that, like you're saying. And so we go and set up another appointment, our first appointment for this, and we're like...
With the same doctor.
With the same doctor, and we, the same...
Well, he actually didn't do the first ultrasound, it was a lady.
Well...
So, I was cool with that.
The same doctor, same office and everything, same room. And we go in and we're anxious and everything, and we get the ultrasound, and lo and behold, there's a heartbeat.
Right.
And the doctor tells me, or the nurse, whoever, tells me we're about 6 weeks along, and that there's a nice strong heartbeat.
Yep.
And things are looking good. And so we're like, okay, this is exciting. We don't have to. We can drop that fear and everything, and we are. We're hopeful, basically. And so from there, right after that appointment, I know we went to the store and we even bought some baby clothes, some gender neutral baby clothes, and we're like okay, we know something technically could happen, but we're excited and we're just going to plan for this, and this is going to be our step of faith, just starting to prepare for this baby. And
we went forward and just acting in faith at that point that the baby will come when at the end of it. So
yeah. And so was it maybe 2 weeks later? Maybe 1 or 2 weeks
so
later.
So again, at that point, so we did schedule, just because it was suggested was also just because of the previous situation, is to schedule a week out again.
Yeah, just to check in.
Just to check, the
Progress, make sure everything was going good.
make sure everything was on track and all that stuff. So, in the first trimester, it's like, seems like every other week you're going, but to the doctor to get checked and stuff like that. So,
So we make this like another appointment, go get checked, and go in. We're excited to find out how far along the baby is now, and we go and get checked and find out that there's no heartbeat with this baby.
yeah.
And the baby had stopped growing maybe some time before, because they measure and it shows about how old and everything, but there was no heartbeat again. And so at this point, now the wind is just kind of knocked out of us, because it's like we were thinking. I mean, obviously we're excited, we're hopeful, like this is going to be the one that erases that time, and to find out that now it's starting to happen again.
Yeah.
Was devastating.
Yeah, definitely. So like, this second pregnancy, the second one, it definitely hit me harder in a different way. As a, just as a man, as a, an expected father at this point, because, I was wrapping my head around it more, that as days went leading up to the second appointment, that, I'm going to be a father, and, I'm going to do things different from what my dad did. And
you're seeing your future and your fatherhood and all that.
Yeah, and then just to see it all taken away within a week, it really put me through more of a train wreck, especially my faith, because now, as I found out, like, it was not viable, I was like, I really questioned God.
Like, how could this happen?
Like, there was thoughts in my head that was like more of, God, you're supposed to be there creating life, and to take it away, why would you do that? Why would this happen? And for the second time, for us, so it just really put me through that time, and like I even kind of almost, stepped away from God for a time, because I was like, I have trust issues now. And to create that is like, growing up, I never really put a lot of trust into certain people, and then it just became more real for me as I gotten older, because of like the situation or the scenario that happened. It created just a big trust issue between myself and God. So.
And it's like you were still at church and everything, going to church, but you mentally.
Right, mentally I wasn't in it. Like, let me be who I am at the moment. I'm still going to church. I'm, still trying to reconcile myself with God, but just at a slower pace. Not the way, I stepped away from a couple things and just was like, I'm just gonna do me. So.
Yeah, and so definitely then I would say that's where I feel like this the doubt and like the doubt of God, kind of a little seed was rooting in there, planting in there and rooting in. So like the first time it was kind of like shock, and this time it was shock, but also disappointment, and then now starting to go into doubt, like
doubt, anger.
Why is you start to doubt God's goodness and everything, because you're like, why would I? That pain was so strong the first time and real. Why would I have to go through this again? And so, for me, my perspective was more of starting now to feel unworthiness as a woman, and feeling a sense of responsibility and guilt for the losses, and feelings were really sinking in of worthlessness. And I really struggled with that, and feeling like I was lacking purpose, and because from, since I was a child myself, I always planned on being a mother, always had hopes of being a mother or desires to be a mother, and to have a situation like this happen where now I realize that I may not be able to produce that was extremely hard. And actually the feelings of worthlessness that I was struggling with there was a feeling that I feel like there was ideas of that started much earlier in my youth, and at that point I felt like it was being confirmed more so that's why it was really a struggle.
Right.
And so so I think around this time, this is where Chris and I now another issue is that or another factor is that the way that we're dealing with this loss is starting to separate us, because
Right.
we weren't necessarily dealing with it together. We were starting to go into our own
Thoughts
and
ways.
on how we were dealing with the sadness and the feelings that were being produced from it. We weren't really talking about it too much,
Right.
Aside
Especially
from
amongst each other.
Yeah. Oh, and let me go back. So the way that we made it through this miscarriage, the doctor offered the same options again, and this time because I was kind of just, still in
Hoping
shock
for a miracle too.
Well, no,
But-
this time I went with the pill,
Right. Oh,
because
yeah.
I was still kind of in shock from the last time, how long it took, and having to wait that long seemed very painful again. So I was like, you know what, I'll take this medication and just deal with it that way.
Right.
And so that process, without going too much into it, was, I would have to say, I don't know, it was 10 times harder than the first time for me, because
Yeah.
the physical pain was so much greater, and the emotional pain was so much greater.
Right.
And the actual process of that was, it was so painful. I remember praying and crying out to God while it was happening, and at a point I was wishing, for my life just to be over, and to be taken out of this pain, and out of this moment, out of this whole circumstance, and the pain was just so deep that it just made me have no view of life, and so to make it through that, it was difficult, to say the least. And so that's where that was like the actual moment of it, but like the residual pain from that was deep.
Right. I mean, like she said, we really didn't talk about it much amongst each other.
Like
I
we
mean,
should have.
Right, and I know I didn't talk to very many people about it. I mean, I might have mentioned it here and there to my brothers and stuff like that. I was more closed off. Like for me, it more was like, I'm gonna bottle this up. I'm gonna try and shove it deep. I'm not talking to anybody, because again, it just goes back to how I grew up. Like, we don't talk about our issues. We just live, learn, move on. And just coming from a single parent home, realistically, I didn't talk to my parents very much. So why do I need to talk to anybody else? Or like at that, in that moment, my wife. And I'm like, I'm gonna bottle it up, do what I know how to do, and I'm gonna try and just forget about it.
Just push through it.
But probably about, I would say, 4, 5, maybe 6 months into it, like, I mean, I'm still bottling it up. And there was one night, I think I got home from work. It was probably like, I was working probably like maybe 60, 70 hours a week that year, alone. I came home from work, I was tired, but somehow, we were watching our shows and stuff like that and just going through our normal motion. And somehow the conversation came up about, what are you feeling about, the miscarriage? And, we were talking.
Because at this point we're experiencing so much disconnect.
Right. Yeah. So we were talking about it, and I mean, realistically at that point, like, that's when I kind of like flew off the hinges, and I was out of character. I wasn't saying anything crazy or anything like that, but I was just more out of character for myself, just knowing myself. And I ended up probably punching a hole in the wall, which was probably a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick, probably about 1/8 of an inch away from a support beam. So support beams are like at least 1/2 inch, probably in width, and about 4 inches deep. But I ended up punching a hole through a wall because I was so frustrated and filled with so much anger. Like, that's the only way I knew how to deal with my anger. Yeah, the wall hurt. It didn't move. I mean, I did put a hole in it, but that didn't really fulfill anything. It just felt kind of satisfying at the moment, but not really directing or dealing with the direct pain, other than, at that moment.
Yeah, and that's when I was able to really see how much pain was, had been kind of tucked away all this time, or, kind of put to the side. And yeah, that was kind of like a wake-up call for where everything was and where we were from each other, where we were from God. And
Right.
that was kind of just a very enlightening moment, I guess to say.
Yeah.
So that was you said that was about 4 or 5 months in. So now we'll go about almost 2 years from the point of his pregnancy.
About a year and a half, 2 years out that.
And so we just, had kind of resolved with, we're definitely not going to try, and, we're not really have that much hope about having kids, and we're not really having hope about, or biologically having kids. We still kind of kept the idea, we want to be parents, so maybe we'll think about adoption a few years down the road.
Yeah.
But I had resolved definitely with the fact that I didn't plan on giving birth. The pain, the idea of the pain, having to go through that again, it's like I don't want any parts of that. So if that means I'm not going to have children, then so be it. Excuse me. And so, anyways, it was 2017 or no, 2018.
Right.
2017 nothing. 2018 in the spring, I find out I'm pregnant again.
Number 3.
And so I find out I'm by myself, and I just had a feeling, I need to go check it out, and I did, and I found out I was pregnant. There was no excitement. This time, there was no excitement. I felt dread and so much fear, and just like really questioning God, like, God, why would I just need to go through this again? That's, I didn't see this as being anything hopeful. And so I remember I decided I wasn't going to tell Chris. I didn't want him to have to go through the emotions. I was just going to wait and go to a doctor myself and find out the probably bad news by myself, and, just try to, keep him from feeling the pain, because I saw how much pain he dealt with the first time, or the last time. And I told my sister, I think she was the only one I told at that time, And I cried days and days, and it was so hard to not share this with him that it was eating me alive, really. And so eventually I just broke down and told him what was going on, that I was pregnant, and that, I'm scared and not hopeful, very doubtful that anything, any life can come from it. So we decided to go to make another appointment. We're going to get another ultrasound. This time we decided to go to a different doctor. I was just like, I don't even want to go to it. I don't want to relive that at all in that space. But anyway, so different physical location, different doctor. And we go to see this doctor, and I think maybe I was close to 8 weeks in.
8 or 9, I would say.
Yeah, and so I go get ultrasound, and she said, there's a heartbeat. She said, there's a strong heartbeat. And so, of course, there's like a flitter of hope kind of coming in my heart, but it's like, I've heard this.
Right, heard this story before. And at that point, we're just, we're hopeful to a point, but also just definitely very doubtful.
Yeah.
Only because of the past situations.
Yeah.
But, again, praying about it, making sure, hey, God, this is going on. If anything to the contrary, as far as it not happening, just help us get through that, and just help us understand now.
Yeah.
Because understanding it later was, from the second one, was definitely a lot harder because of all of the emotions wrapped up in it. But just praying, God's will over it again, just making sure that, hey, God, this is up to you.
Yeah.
We put the ball in your court. You're obviously you're creating this situation. Yeah. So if it's your will, let's do this. But if not, it is what it is. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Right. Just being transparent with God. Also, just here's our emotions. They're going to be on our sleeve for a while. So.
Yeah. And even with that thought, like between us, I definitely can say that we still had fear there. It wasn't gone. Like we were putting our trust in God, but the fear wasn't gone. I know that we didn't share it with family at first, with anyone, and because I didn't want to put my family through, the emotions again, and my family, church family, and thinking, okay, let me get their excitement again, and have to disappoint.
Right.
So that was how the first maybe few weeks go, since our first ultrasound, and we go back and get another ultrasound, and there's a heartbeat again. Right. And so now it's like,
more
I want to get excited, but I don't want to put all my hope there and be let down again. And so we must have went to another ultrasound. Maybe I want to say at the third ultrasound.
Yeah, it's probably like third or fourth ultrasound. So somewhere outside of that.
Before that.
Well, there's a window like the.
Yeah, it was before that though. It's what I'm gonna.
Oh, go for it then. Yeah.
Before we get to that area of clear, I know I was seeking some sort of comfort, I guess, and so I was reading through blogs of people who had been through miscarriages and gotten pregnant after, and how they dealt with it and everything, and I was led to a Christian blog or someone was sharing the story, of their miscarriage and everything, and I'm sorry, and basically what God was speaking to me through there was saying, he told me that no matter what length of time, no matter how far this pregnancy goes, the fact, if I believe that life was inside of me, and I believe that it started at conception, life started at conception, if I believe that, then I can have joy in knowing that I'm carrying life for however long that period lasts. And so it really encouraged me, and he told me, no, I can have joy in that. I have life inside. I mean, that's a blessing. That's a honor to be able to carry life. And so, that really just opened my perspective and opened my whole, just how I felt about the whole thing, because now I'm thinking, okay, even if this went exactly how this last time went, it'll be painful, sure, but I can have joy in this time in between, and I don't need to let every day be wrapped in fear and in pain from the past, because this is, a new situation. This is its own process, and I can just celebrate the life that's inside of me now. And so that's what I began to do, and share that with you. And at that point, we hadn't quite made it to that first trimester, I guess, of when, they say, you can share it, with less risk. But it was sometime before that, and I decided, what, I'm going to be more open with this and share this. And, everyone, if they get excited, then they will be able to also understand my pain. If it were to happen again, so you bring your community into it. And so, and I think God was really working with us to not have to try to deal with everything alone so much, because that last episode was just, we stayed alone because we didn't, reach out. And so, to each other or to anyone. And so, it really just brought a light to it that time. And I was just, preparing myself to deal with this pregnancy however it went. And so, over time, months started to go by, and less fear was there, and more excitement was there. And so, fast forward.
Right. So, fast forward, like once we got out of that window, I mean, I made sure for myself to make time to go to all of the appointments. I don't think I missed one, because, I mean, I'm trying to be there for, my wife's support, so that she's not there by herself, because if anything happens, then I'm there. So just to show that, I made sure I made, every single appointment for that whole time. So that,
and you did. You were very very supportive, and very we were side by side in that, and I just I'm very thankful for you during that time, and and beyond. And so we made it through 9 months, or I think it's technically 10 months of pregnancy. And December 19th, 2018, we
7:34
in the evening, we were blessed to meet our son Josiah Albert Stanley, and we saw the I don't know if this is gonna work out, but we got to see the manifestation of this hope that we regained in the Lord. And Chris is gonna grab him right now. I don't know if this is going to be a good idea because he's watching a show. But anyways, so dusting the food off of him. So we meet our baby boy, Josiah, and here he is. Say hi, Jesse.
Hi. Say hi.
To the camera.
Right there.
Yeah, there.
Say hi,
Right
GTAM.
Say hi.
Hi, GTAM.
And so here he is. He's almost.
All right. Say bye-bye.
Bye.
Wave. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. He doesn't want to.
Bye.
There you go.
Okay.
Go to Auntie. Say Auntie.
And so, anyways, this last 2 years almost has been just such a wild and wonderful time. I will admit that even through this time of him growing up as old as he is now, I definitely still dealt with doubt. It didn't fully go away because we had him. I had doubt of, my worthiness as, worthiness as a mother. And like not feeling good enough as a mom, not feeling good enough as a wife, and holding it all down. And but I really can say that him being here, even though it hasn't been all
Flowers and
every day, you know.
yeah.
I am thankful because I see where God is showing me so much and teaching me so much just through the opportunity to be able to raise him and to be his mother. And every day that that's happening, I feel like I am able to replace a doubtful feeling with a feeling of hope.
Right.
And I'm trying to think of where the verse is found, but it just confirms proper. I can't remember. Anyways, where I know the plans that I have for you, plans of hope, or plans to prosper you. Oh, I'm misquoting, but anyways, you know the verse. You know
Right.
that it just confirms that I understand and see that God does have a plan. And anyways, we're going a little long anyway, so we're gonna wrap this up with what.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. The one last thing I wanted to share, like through this time, there was a verse that always had stuck with me. I remember quoting it at a ministers in training class. Was a verse from Psalms 121 is look unto the hills from which cometh your help. Your help cometh from the Lord who made heaven and earth. So that really stuck with me even through this time, and just helped me just keep looking to God, because he's gonna be there no matter what. Mm-hmm. He's gonna provide your help in the hardest of times and in the easiest of times. So I just speak encouragement to myself. I try and speak encouragement to others. Mm-hmm. Just to if you are a believer, if you question God, this is it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the end, hopefully everything gets better.
And we know that it all is working for our good.
Right.
That's what the word says. All things work together for good to them that love God.
Yeah. So, and with that, that was our story. And once we see everyone again,
give big hugs.
Give big hugs to everyone. We just thank you for this platform. Thank you to Sister Miller and Pastor Miller for letting us do this, reaching out to us. Yes, this is an uncomfortable thing for us, but it's definitely a place of growth that we've taken on to be able to manage our I'm blank,
growing,
but manage our growth. But again, thank you. We appreciate everyone's time. And
I was gonna share this song, but I don't really have any more time, so it'll have to be another time.
Yeah, we know Sister Miller wanted it, but we apologize.
Anyways, all right. Thank you. God bless you all. We love you, and we'll see you hopefully soon.
All right.
Bye.